All right, so today we're in Paul's letter to the church in Colossae, or Colossae, or whatever, the Colossians. And this was a letter written to a church he did not start. He was buddies with the guy who did start it. His name was Epaphras. Was Epaphras. He's not alive anymore. So Paul was not super close with these people, but he's writing to them to help strengthen this church. Now, every one of the churches, just about, that Paul writes to has some kind of issue that's threatening the purity of the message that he taught them, the good news about Jesus, right? And he tailors his approach to speak to that issue. So a lot of times it has to do with Jewish practices getting into church. Like if you remember in Ephesians, or if you were here when we talked about Galatians, there were some people saying you've got to be circumcised if you want to follow Jesus. And Paul's like, no. Other people are saying you got to observe the law if you want to follow Jesus. Paul's like, no. And so he addresses those specifically. That was an issue in this church, but there was also this issue of idol worship. And along with that, this pursuit of like deep spiritual wisdom and knowledge, like a hidden truth in the universe. And in this church that he's writing to, they're all in search of it. It's like highly valued, the pursuit of knowledge and wisdom. And so when you're reading, look at how many times he connects wisdom with Jesus, and knowledge and a mystery revealed and understanding. He connects it all with Jesus. In the beginning of chapter 2, I don't want to jump ahead there, but he talks about how like in him is hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. In chapter 1, you see him talking about wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives. He sprinkles it all through the letter, and he's speaking to their deep desire to want to have knowledge and wisdom. And he's like, I know where you can find knowledge and wisdom. He's like, it's in Jesus. We call this contextualization. You've probably heard of that before, maybe not. I don't know. I hadn't heard it until I went into college. But the idea is you're not changing the gospel message, but it is being tailored to speak to the needs that are most pressing in the community and culture that you're communicating to. So Paul recognizes, hey, this is what they want. He's like, hey, this is what Jesus offers. So let me start here and speak to what they're looking for. Anytime you see someone not change, but tailor the message, like prioritize certain aspects of the gospel according to the needs of the community, that's called contextualization. So if you are in a culture that really values family, right, you might talk about some of the writings actually in Colossians, where he talks about a household and how close a husband and wife could be, or in his letter to the church in Ephesus, you might start there. It's using certain parts of Paul's teaching of the gospel message to speak to the issues that are on the minds of everybody that he's writing to, or most of the people that he's writing to. So this is a really powerful thing. We see Paul do this in Athens, and you can read about it in the book of Acts. He shows up in Athens and he sees that these people, they're worshiping all these different gods. And then there's one God, a God, like an altar to an unknown God. They don't know who he is. And so they're like, all right, that's the catch-all just in case we missed one. And so Paul looks around. He's like, all right, they care about these gods and they don't have an answer for that one. So let me start there. And he's like, excuse me, I know who this unknown God is. And he uses that as his launching pad to explain who Jesus is. That's called contextualization. So be on the lookout for that. Also, if you want some extra credit, you can compare and contrast the letter to the Colossians with Paul's letter to the Ephesians. There are a lot of similarities there, and it's kind of cool to see how he structured things. And I don't know, it might make you ask some questions, like, why is he doing this? Why are they being repeated? There's a lot of the same ideas being emphasized there. So that's just a little extracurricular thing if you want to do that. If not, stick with this, and we'll be in chapter 2 tomorrow. See you then.